So hello, welcome to I guess it's the sixth part podcast of the Tapas sixth one, yes, of Tapas and Pretzels. And you said to me right now the topic is about the developer experience, and of course, as me as a developer, um, it is quite necessary or important to have a good developer experience, but in what kind of situation do you use this developer experience? What do you mean exactly with it? So
Okay,
maybe David,
I
you can.
take that one. Yeah, I take that one. Now,
Perfect.
you said that you are a developer. So which point do you think are of paramount importance for you as developer to have an enhanced experience with an API or with any software if you want to make things easier?
It should be accessible, I guess, and easy to use, of course. So I think that would be something
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
might.
I think that for a good developer experience, I have been a developer for don't know 20 years, and now from time to time I like to code and make some tests. Indeed, I'm at the university. I'm helping my students to learn Python and MATLAB. So for me, as developer, I see that some points are key. Documentation, the documentation
Yes,
should be
yes.
accessible and up to date. It should be easy to search to whatever you need to search. Also, having code examples are great. Fully functional, I mean, it doesn't having a lot of use cases or snippets that you copy paste and say hello world, that's useless. You want to access to code that simplifies you the integration to somewhere like a connector or something like that. Also forums to ask, because documentation is great, code examples are great, but when you try to things work, it never works. So you need somewhere to complain and cry. So forums and that kind of community is always key. The main the Rosetta Stone on top of a community of developer are built is cry.
Yeah.
So crying together, it's really, really nice.
But in case if you have something to complain, your examples and your documentations aren't that good.
Yeah.
It's confirming. Just one thing I would like to add is also like it's always about the developer experience, but never forget about the business analysts or these product managers, because sometimes they have to understand also the API, and sometimes for them it's more helpful to understand what are the key objects that you're processing. What is the use case, the typical scenario that you would like to address with the
Mhm.
API? Because usually you build an API, you put some endpoints together, say this is an API product, and usually you have set some purpose in mind why you designed that product, and you should probably really describe it, make actually some flows. What do you think? How the people should use the API, and then really guide it in a huge example. Like, okay, step first is make this endpoint call, then this endpoint call, then execute it here, transform it locally, and then voila,
Mhm.
you have the solution to the problem that we have initially described. And I think developer experience, yes, but also don't forget about business analysts. And therefore, I think one thing is important: these open API documentation, where you can generate all these nice overviews and the tryout buttons, but also put a markdown file next to API where you describe it. Use probably some frameworks like Mermaid, where you can have flow diagrams and other UML diagrams.
Mhm.
That makes it so much easier for everyone to consume it.
Yeah, indeed. If you go to MuleSoft documentation, to MuleSoft accelerators, you will find all that kind of information. They have architecture diagrams for people that is technical. You can also download some example of interaction with fully functional code. You can download it and import it in the studio, and you will see the flow, the complete flow. Of course, it's for a particular use case, but you can easily modify it to customize it for your needs, and they are really nice documented.
Yeah. That's something like when I see developer portals, it's good that you have a collection of open API documentations, but really this browsing the API, see before you see the open API documentation, you should have like at least a page that describes the product, how you're going to use it. What are the contact person that you should go for crying and blaming at the community thought? I really like that, like the Cry Together group.
That's a must. You cannot engage a community if there is not a crying together group. That's the key point. Forget about AA or no.
Crying together. New hype is coming, and a new patent we should definitely apply for.
Yeah, in fact, with AA, you can cry alone with ChatGPT.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
I think also that having a collection of success stories, for example, okay, this is my API, but the API is good, but you need to see that the API is used for something, to build something better, to add value. That is easy to add value on top of your APIs. So summarizing, we say documentation, code examples, the crying together group in forums and facts, question and answers, or whatever. Also use cases. I also would add technical information, as you mentioned, and
go for persons and also consistent information objects.
Yeah.
Like that you have some data objects that are consistent across all your endpoints.
Yeah, and also a kind of dashboard to know the state or the status or the health of your APIs, and getting some alerts just in case you are the responsible of the API in production. You have to be notified if something happens. I think that it's enough.
And provide these channels for feedback, as David said with the crying group. Yeah. It's always great if you have the possibility, even so as a company probably maybe don't like it, but giving the users the possibility to rate your API.
Okay, then we need two groups: the crying together, the crying together group, and the maybe I'm going to make you cry.
Yeah. I mean, somebody has to make you cry, and then you need a group to cry. But like this marketplace idea, like a 5-star API, because others that depending on the use case, the company is providing the API, but people will look into the ratings of the API before they start using it, or like see recent comments about it, or I don't know, or at least giving them a sign that this API is still actively developed and it's not idling for 4 years around and nothing got evolved over time.
Maybe if also other APIs see what other APIs do correct, maybe they are also more motivated to get or to do a better dev experience. So everything gets better and we don't have to cry all the time.
But crying is good. From time to time.
I think
as you both... No, Tim, you can go.
I think the headline will be, how does developer experience relate to crying groups? That's kind of the headline. No.
Yeah, that's a better headline, I would say. But David, or both of you, I can completely agree with it, especially the documentation part. I think that's a very, very necessary part, especially not only APIs, also in projects. It is quite nice to have a documentation. And a crying group, of course. So I'm not the only one who has some problems, maybe.
You'll never walk alone.
Yeah, I yes. So crying also bonds together sometimes. But thank you very much, you both, for your opinions and your ideas to improve that. And we will see us in the 7th podcast for the next time.
Yeah.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye bye.